Don't y'all start that mess, Dallas Cowboys fans. Yes, a former Dallas Cowboy is actually unretiring, and he's trying to get back into the NFL. And this is the perfect time for the Dallas Cowboys to strike, as the entire league, they're doing their best to make sure that the Cowboys have a plethora of options to fill all of these damn holes on this roster. Let's get right into it, and be sure to subscribe for more Dallas Cowboys content. I know I keep saying this, but if y'all actually do it, I won't have to say it as much, man. Once we get to a good percentage, I will stop saying that. Y'all won't have to. All right, let's get to the video. All right, so you can see here the leading story today. We have veteran wide receiver Michael Gallup, whom the Raiders released from the reserve/retired list today, wants to return to the NFL in 2025 per source. Michael Gallup was just waiting for the Raiders to actually release him. Hey, man. I know where Cowboys fans are going to go with this, and I know where Dak Prescott and some of the other players on our team may want to go with this, but we went down this road before, man. This is not going to help our receiver room unless you're looking at bringing a Michael Gallup back and he's replacing a guy like a Jalen Brooks or something like that on the roster. And no offense to any of these players, bro. We got to talk football without y'all getting sensitive. Unless you bringing him back to replace a guy like that on the roster, like wide receiver 4 or 5, no thank you, bro. No thank you, for real. I'm good on the reunions or any of that stuff. I'm good on this. Welcome back, Michael Gallup. I hope you do find a landing spot, and I hope to see you back on the field at some point this season, but just not in Dallas. Not this time, my brother. See you around, though. What is interesting, though, as it pertains to the Cowboys and moves that the Cowboys could make, is the fact that the entire NFL, and in a way that I haven't really seen it before, the entire NFL is unloading premium players. And guess what? These dudes, a lot of them, gonna go for the low, because everybody can't get paid top dollar when you got this many dudes hitting the open market and you got this type of influx of rookies that are going to come in that a lot of teams feel good about as far as skill positions like defensive line. And a lot of these defensive linemen, especially the older guys, the guys that are closer to 30, 31, 32, they're not going to be able to get paid the way they want to get paid because teams like these D linemen in this year's draft. I'm telling you, that's part of the reason why you're seeing D linemen be at risk this season. Speaking of D linemen being at risk and teams willing to separate with D linemen, Trey Hendrickson is available for a very, very doable price for the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm being completely honest. If you can bring a guy who's had 17.5 sacks twice in his career and put him on the other side of Micah Parsons just for a late second-round pick or an early third-round pick, oh, sign me up like yesterday. What type of value is this that you're actually trying to get for a guy that's had the type of career that a Trey Hendrickson has had? I mean, just look at this, y'all. This man has had 17.5 sacks the last 2 seasons consecutively, had 8 before that, 14 before that, 13.5 before that. This man has been an absolute sack machine, and his quarterback pressure percentage is sky high. You put him on the other side of Micah Parsons, and all it's going to cost is a third-round pick. You get him here, oh my goodness, I would absolutely take this in a New York minute. I promise you I would. The guy is 30 years old, so this is likely going to be his last real contract in the NFL. And what you're probably looking at is like a 2 or a 3, maybe a 4-year deal if you're really stretching it, depending on the team. But what you're really looking at, if you're comfortable, is like a 2 or 3 year type of deal. And you probably have to pay him close to $30 million per season. So if you were to make this type of move, if you're the Cowboys, right, and this is the way we have to look at this as Cowboys fans going into this offseason, as I list these guys off that are just being dropped from these teams, think of it this way. If you're looking at a tier 1 type of guy, you're looking at the Cowboys adding one tier 1 guy and then essentially just only doing enough in free agency to just make sure you got a roster ready to field next season, right, and then hope you do have a really good draft. So if you go after a guy like a Trey Hendrickson, please expect that's probably the only real move you make, and the rest of your hay is going to have to be made via the draft. Now, on the other hand, if you go after a couple of different guys that maybe cost about a third of what Trey Hendrickson is looking for, you could pair one of those type of guys with a couple of other moves that maybe don't cost as much, like a Nick Chubb plus an Amari Cooper plus a Von Miller if he gets released from the Buffalo Bills. Adding a combination of 3 players at about $10 to $12 million per season would look something like that. versus adding a Trey Hendrickson, or if you go out and get a Myles Garrett or something crazy. I know Myles Garrett's been held hostage, so I'm just talking about this for the purpose of conversation. If you go out to get one of those type of guys and expect that it's going to be one big move and then a bunch of smaller role player, like real role player, just trying to make sure we got bodies to throw out there type of moves, right? So me personally, I'm leaning more towards get multiple tier 2, fringe tier 2, tier 3 type guys over just trying to get one huge fish, because the Cowboys have so many holes to fill on this roster. That would be the direction I would go. So if I had a hand in choosing this, instead of going to get one huge fish like a Trey Hendrickson or a Myles Garrett, I would go out there and get like a Jonathan Allen and then add like a Von Miller for the Lolo, as he's a veteran and he's not going to demand a whole lot of money. These veterans are not going to get more than what you kind of saw like a Derrick Henry type get last season, where it's around that $8 to $10 million range. These vets aren't going to get too much more than that, y'all. So you could add like a Jonathan Allen, a Von Miller, and then throw in like an Amari Cooper or another guy that's going to be a little bit cheaper just due to situation, right? You can go that route. So either way, regardless of what route the Cowboys want to go, you see all the different guys that are going to be available. Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, Marquise Brown, and countless more receivers are going to be available. And then you start seeing these bigger name guys getting thrown around the market. Outside linebacker like a Harold Landry, which I think the guys that we have are probably better than him, if I'm being completely honest. But we got guys like Harold Landry and Trey Hendrickson, and Javon Hargrave is going to be out there. That's another one of those guys that could be like a smaller tier 2, tier 3 type of move that wouldn't take as much money. Jonathan Allen. All these guys are going to be out there, man, and some of the best defensive players from this year's class are going to be guys like a Jonathan Allen, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Matthew Judon, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Carlton Davis, Shavarius Ward, DJ Reed, Justin Reed, BJ Hill. It just so happened that the position that's going to be ripe with talent in this free agent class just happens to be the position the Cowboys needs the most. Defensive linemen, defensive ends, wide receivers. There's a ton of them in this free agency class, and that's why the entire NFL is helping the Dallas Cowboys get everything they could possibly ask for, and the Joneses have no excuse but to take advantage of this. They're going to have a ton of salary cap space, top 5 in salary cap space this offseason. They have no choice but to participate, and fine. If you want to use this offseason to sign Tyler Smith and Deron Bland early, cool. Go out and get us a Javon Hargrave. Supplement that move with bringing in a Von Miller. Go get a Nick Chubb. Go get some veterans that may not be super expensive, that may be towards the latter half of their career, but still can make an impact. That type of move is still available here, man. The Cowboys legitimately, just based off of the sheer amount of talent being thrown around the league, the Cowboys legitimately have absolutely no excuse not to get any and everything that they possibly can need in free agency this offseason. They have the cap space. They only have to make commitments to a couple of more players on this current version of the roster, with it being like a Tyler Smith and a Deron Bland. Outside of that, nobody else is really guaranteed to get long-term deals here. So you really only have a couple of more big commitments to make roster-wise if you're the Dallas Cowboys, as it pertains to people that may really command a sizable salary. And teams are releasing guys who can make an impact day one, who could come in and start day one with your team, and that way you can go into the NFL draft and truly draft for the best players possible, because you would have actually done what you're capable of doing this season and satisfy your needs in free agency. As a Cowboys fan, this is kind of where my expectations are, and I'm finally going to let you guys know kind of like where I would be as far as like a disappointment level. The only way I could walk away from this free agency disappointed is if the Cowboys don't either make one tier 1 free agent move or a couple of different tier 2 free agent moves. Like, so 2 or 3 guys being brought in that's like a Javon Hargrave plus a Jonathan Allen, maybe add a Von Miller to that or something. If they don't do something like that, then I will be a little bit disappointed. Am I expecting them to go out and get the Trey Hendrickson and do the super blockbusters? Absolutely not. But am I expecting them to bring some impactful guys here? Yes, I am, because they can, and the tea leaves are saying that they will, regardless of what Jerry said. Some of y'all just love listening to Jerry. How is it that you don't believe anything Jerry says until he says something that you agree with? Then all of a sudden you believe him. Amazing how that works. But either way, how about them Cowboys? I'll see you guys on the next one.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Hey! I'm still them boys.